Right.
on. We went to them on yesterday, and they actually don't have the answers.
So like this is what I mean. Like it just is so much of a gray area, right? And
Yeah.
um, I coach at Athletes Institute, and I also coach at with Storm FC now. There used to be
Okay.
Orangeville Storm, but now they've
Yeah. Yeah.
rebranded. And same thing. We want to get started, and we want to know what we can do. But the problem we're facing over here is fields, closed fields, right?
Yeah.
We don't have access to fields until second week of July.
And that's the same
Um,
as what Richmond Hill have said. Even though restrictions have been lifted and the government has said that you can go on fields, Richmond Hill have said you won't get fields until at least July the 6th.
Yeah, that's what they said to us too. The same idea, right?
So
So what's training going to look like? You know what I mean? And it's I can't wait to go back out there and start coaching again. And because
yeah, yeah,
we're doing a whole bunch of Zoom sessions. And
yeah,
earlier this morning I was just finishing with the U6 to U9 grassroots. I do a little Zoom session,
yeah.
and as soon as it's funny because a little bit small town minded over here, right? As soon as you ran a Zoom session, they're like, "Are we going to get charged for that?" And I was just,
That's the same in Richmond Hill.
really? And I was just like,
Yeah,
"No, it's not. It's just complimentary. It's something that we want to make sure that kids are still getting active, right?"
there's a lot of clubs though, Christos, that are charging for it.
Really?
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah.
Hold on. I think we got Neil. What's going on, buddy? There's Neil. Neil, what's going on, my man? How are you? I can't hear us.
Hey guys, you okay?
Yeah, good. Neil, can you hear me?
Yep, all loud and clear.
Oh, good. Today we're going to be a group of three. Usually we have 4 or 5. Lewis is bike riding out in Wales for 50 kilometers. He sent me a message, sent me a pic, and he's like, "Yeah, I won't be able to be part of this podcast this morning." And I say, "Yeah, no worries, man." I go, health and fitness, 50-kilometer run is a lot more. No worries on that. And
Rather him than me.
and then Chris, which is the VP for Storm, and he's my assistant, Carl. He's working on a possible return to play. He's going to get with their board and how that's going to look. Apparently, he's looking at the Canada Soccer return to play, is it Canada Soccer or Ontario Soccer?
Yeah. Ontario Soccer.
Ontario Soccer, and he's looking how to break it down. You know what I mean? So to simplify it.
If you can let us know, that'd be great.
Awesome. Okay, well, so I'll introduce you guys. Neil, Carl Horton is a technical director for Richmond Hill Soccer for a club out in Ontario. He's got his National A. I've had the pleasure to be coached through and taught by Carl through many of the educational courses, C license, B license, and I'm actually honored to have Carl on because he's
Thank you.
Seriously, man. As a mentor and as a mentee for myself, I look forward to that. So as going through the coach education, you know what I mean. We always I'd like to pick your brain as well and see what's happening within Ontario. Carl Horton has his National A. You have I think your FIFA grassroots diploma, U.S. youth license. He's coached in. You've coached in England, I think, in U.S.
Yeah,
right?
coached in England, coached in North America, New York City, Seattle, Washington. So yeah, just all over Ontario, and now coaching technical director at Richmond Hill and residing in Hamilton.
That's awesome. And Neil, I had the pleasure. We actually met through one of the academy. We had a summer clinics, and Neil he was an ex-professional player, played for Morecambe, played for so many clubs within England. I don't want to just keep sitting there and labeling them off. And we actually met at a summer camp. So we had that connection, and he's been part of our podcast every week that we do, and it's awesome. So Neil, thanks for coming again. The goatee is gone, so that looks like good signs of soccer return to play, I guess, in England, right? So
I don't know, the hair's still there, so yeah, I look about 10 years younger with the facial hair off. Yeah.
all we're just talking about right now, Neil, was so we've gotten a return to play in Ontario here, and they have three different phases. So our first phase, we're looking at it in terms of return to play, but we ask our our government and stuff like that in terms of our towns, our cities. The question is, what can we do in terms of our phase of play, and what's allowed, what's not allowed. So the mixed understanding here, and I was just talking to Carl, was there's a lot of gray area. You know what I mean? And we're just trying to look at, like, yes, we're happy that we're back in the spotlight, like in terms of getting out there and getting to play, but when can we do it? How does it look like? And what's the transition from now until 11v11 or 9v9 or 7v7? What it's going to look like, right? So, how are you guys over there in England? Like, how are you guys playing there?
Yeah, I did see something about your three phases the other day. Actually, it's I think it's key with everything. I mean, we've talked every bit, not just about football, every week about sort of the pandemic itself and coronavirus in different countries. But I think it's one of the biggest problems. Nothing to do with soccer over here is the grey areas. So I think with the return to training, you do need specific guidelines that people have to adhere to. You need them by date. If things change due to infection rates and stuff, they need to revert back, but they need to be set out in stone. They need to be put there. This is what you can do. This is when you can do it by. I think the grey areas make it difficult, and I don't know. I think coaches will work better around knowing exactly what they can and can't do. Same with anything really, sort of safeguarding procedures and everything. It's know what you can do, know what you can't do. As for over here, again, we're not expecting anything really. I don't think until at least end of July, end of beginning of August. Our shops, non-supermarket, non-essential shops reopen on Monday over here.
Okay.
But we've got a lot of unrest going on at the moment. So I don't know if you've seen the sort of riots today in London.
Really?
Yeah, we got riots today in London. So last week, obviously, there's Black Lives Matter protests. This week, we seem to have the far right have turned up in protest to that and are going mental in London and attacking police and stuff. So
holy smokes, man!
It's crazy times, but yeah, again, with all these mass gatherings, whether that infection rate will go up and then we'll have to revert back down, we don't know. So again, it's all playing it by ear, I suppose. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing we've talked about last week as well, right? In terms of protests and stuff like that, you're getting thousands, 10,000, 20,000 people in an area, and we can't play soccer. Like,
I think that's the big question, right? We're worrying about what is a gathering. Obviously, now in Ontario, 10 people can get together. You see thousands of people getting together at these protests and riots. What is a gathering? How many gatherings can you have on one soccer field?
yeah. Well, you know what I heard? It's funny you said that, because I talking with some other coaches and stuff like that, and people are going to protest apparently next week, saying that they're going to go to a field, they're going to have a gathering, and people playing soccer. And if they get stopped by, say, the municipality or whoever it is there, they're going to turn around and say, "This is a gathering. This is what we're doing here." So they're going to basically try and bend the rules to have that, so they can go and play. So it's
crazy.
We've talked about it here. It was brought up to me saying, okay, so if we run a session for the younger kids and stuff like that, I said, well, there's a lot of protocols before we even get on the field, right? So in terms of attendance, who's coming, temperature checks, any signs and symptoms,
who's dropping them off?
Exactly. Like you can't just be like, okay, guys, we're good. There's a field over there. Set some cones up and let parents just drop off their kids, because if there is an outbreak of infection, how are you gonna go back to that? Like, how are you gonna reference back to, okay, these kids were here, little Johnny or little Maria got infected, this is what they were here last, this group of people were together, basically process of elimination, right? So it's just I just can't wait to see what the big picture is.
I think the main priorities, Christos, has to be the safety of players, coaches, and staff. I've made it clear at Richmond Hill that until we can ensure the safety of everybody, we won't go on the field.
Okay.
I think the safety of the kids has to be the priority.
Yeah.
Staff, I mean, I've got many staff working with me, and we've made it clear all the way through this that if they're not comfortable and they don't feel safe, then we won't proceed. And it's the same with our coaches. They've got to be comfortable and able to go on the field with no worries. So we'll see how long that takes.
Yeah, no, for sure. You guys being a bigger, a way bigger club like in Richmond Hill. See, for us, we're smaller, of course, but we're trying to look at what the big centers are doing just to get an idea in terms of going forward. So, have you guys started at all, like planning? I know you guys have started planning before, but what the phases are going to look like, or because
Yeah,
I know through the Ontario Soccer we've gotten the guidelines and they've sent their practice plans and stuff like that, and looking at it, and I see it, and I just want to know like what other clubs are doing. Like, what are you guys doing in that case?
yeah. We've kind of had a return to play plan / guide in process for probably the last 6 weeks, just based on other information that we got from other provinces and other clubs in those other provinces.
Right.
Obviously, now that we've got the return to play from Ontario, we can adjust our return to play guide to fall in line with what Ontario Soccer have now asked for. We have a meeting with the municipality on Tuesday afternoon, which will hopefully answer a lot of the big questions that we have in terms of how many players can we have on a facility, or how many gatherings can we have on a facility. What protocols are the municipalities putting in place, and is it their responsibility or our responsibility to put the social distancing markings out on the walkways and things like that. So we're in that process. So we've kind of been ahead of the game, and working together with other clubs and TDs across the province has been great. And now it's a case of, we've got the Ontario Soccer Guide, we've got our plan. How can we now manipulate that to it be adjusted to fall in line with each other?
No, of course. Yeah, even another question I wanted to ask you was regarding, and say, like, for what I found is, because I'm doing the technical director course right now, and I think because of all this, the COVID and stuff, they've laid off quite a bit of employees at Ontario Soccer, so we're at a standstill. So I know I reached out to Alex Denoya and just looking at going, are we resuming? What's happening? So he just basically emailed back saying, just be patient, and we're working through it. We're going to resume once that goes through. So
For sure.
yeah, it's everything's up in the air, right? So
Yeah, I know a lot of the C licenses and the national Bs and youth licenses have now gone online.
yeah,
So
I'm doing the youth license currently right now with Canada Soccer there, and then
yes,
yeah, it's I find it it's good. I like it because yeah, you're doing online course, but I also like I even mentioned in one of my reflections there, stating that doing having in class, because it's one thing to get to learn on your own, but I'm a type of person that I need that interaction as well, just a visual, person to person, and go from there. You
yeah,
absorb more as well.
I think we're all missing those personal connections and relationships. I know I'm delivering 2 C licenses at the moment, and the 2 classes that I've got are great. But it's when you're in the class, you get the opportunity to have that little personal one-on-one conversation, taking someone to the side and discussing something with them. When you're online and you're on a Zoom call and you've got breakout rooms, it's difficult to have that one-on-one conversation. So, but I think it's a new way that Ontario Soccer, Canada Soccer, and coach education will be going forward
Yeah, for sure.
within Canada.
Well, it's good because when doing my national B part one, and then the transition when we actually went into video debriefs after, it was good to see, to be part of that, right? So I know back in the day it was just once you run your session, you would be off on the side and you would have your one-on-one with the coach, and then saying yes, no, I need to work on these areas and stuff like that. But now it's right there, and the good thing I like about the video session going forward is you can actually reflect back on the video that you submit. So when you ran a session back in the day, you'd be like, your facilitator could be like, well, you didn't do this, this, and this. And you're like, I did do it. Yeah, I remember doing that in that field at that time. And he's like, no, but now I'll be honest. I was one of those when I saw the video, and I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Who is that guy? Is that me? Oh, I did that repetitively so many times. Okay, but it's good to see and identify now on video, right?
I love the video assessment because when you have the debrief and you're having these kind of Zoom calls over the internet, you can, exactly as you just said, I never did that. Okay, let's go back and watch your video. Let's watch exactly what you performed on the field. Let's create some freeze frames and let's put some annotation on the screen and let's see what happened.
Well, that's the best thing because Bobby did my B, and when he went through the video, he timed it perfectly too, right? So he's like, well, let's go back at that time at 3 minutes and 25 seconds or 5 minutes or something. I'm like, okay. So we went back at the 5th minute, and I looked up myself. I was like, and then he paused and he stopped, and he's like, so Crystal, let's walk through this. What do you think? I was like, yeah, I see exactly what you're saying now. Yeah.
The power of video is amazing, whether it's for coach assessment or just for coach development. I
Of
think
course.
the more people can video themselves, it's real. And it's a great tool to help reflection.
Well, it's funny because you don't see yourself, right? So I've done now now that we've been stuck, but prior to COVID and the pandemic, I've done some video sessions of my practices, and I've gone back and I've done some analysis, like some self-reflection. And wow, the things that you do and you see, and you're like, wow, okay. When you're making it, or you're giving a demonstration or an example, or letting them know, or just talking, or your body language. Sometimes it could be basically you'd had a bad day at work, and you think mentally that that all is well. You're not exhausted. You're like, I'm gonna run this session, no problem. I'm full of energy, right? You go look at your video, and everything is slouched over, man. Your shoulders are slouched over. But meanwhile, during that time, you're like, in my head, I was like, no, I thought it was a good session. I think it ran well. But it's good to see as a self-reflection for pointers, right? To be like, okay, don't do this, don't do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, I did a podcast a few weeks ago with Canada Soccer and Jason DeVos, and listening to it, I reflected on what I'd gone through, and I noticed how much I say um, and I'm sat there and I'm listening to the podcast with my wife, and I said that's something that I need to focus on,
Yeah.
because is my like, and it's not good.
Well, and there's so many things where even just talking, like I'll go over a podcast as well, like exactly like you just said. And there's so many times where I'll think a lot more ahead than what's coming out of my mouth. And then there's so many stuttering, right? You stutter, and you're like, okay, just take it easy, calm down, focus on what you want to talk about, and that's it. Rather than going, okay, we're talking about this subject, let's talk about this, this, and this, and you're trying to cram everything all at once, right? So
For sure.
it's funny there, right? So Neil, when are we gonna have you back out here, man?
That is a big question.
Oh man, we'd love to have you. Like I said, you're the clinic that you ran for Carl. You ran a clinic for Athletes Institute, and it was fantastic. It was a really good clinic, really engaging, a lot of information, and the player the reviews on it was fantastic. So definitely, yeah. Once all this is over, I can't wait. I don't think it's going to be this year for 2020. I think 2020 is a wash. Unfortunately, that's my own opinion. So I think maybe in 2021, we could definitely look at something like that. But yeah, I'd love to have you out there again, man, because it was really, really excellent session.
They can be difficult, those sort of camps and clinics, because you're coming in with so many different players that you don't know, for one. The different ages, they're all at different stages, different ability levels. So it's trying to put a program together that's focused on all people improving and enjoying the week, which is challenging in itself, and it's enjoyable to do. So I think the ones that you cater to specific age groups and specific skill sets, they're easier to do, because you get a good feel of what they can and can't do, whereas a broad spectrum of players is more difficult. But no, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was great. We've spoke many weeks about how engaging the young players were. The boys and the girls are fantastic.
Oh, they loved it.
Yeah, and it's so much easier to coach when they're engaging and they're wanting to learn, and wanting to listen, and wanting to enjoy themselves, work hard, and that's it makes it all rewarding. And the days go quick. Days go really quick then, don't they? Rather than being a slog when players aren't doing what you want them to do, or they're not quite into it.
And
The week was fantastic.
it's also the coaching too, right? It's also the how you come across as a coach, right? We had one the last summer, and there were players, there were coaches. I think they came from Brazil. I'm not sure. I think it was Brazil, but there was a definite language barrier, and the energy level wasn't there. It was very frustrating for them to see because they would expect a certain level of play, where when you get exactly like you were saying, when you get these camps, you're going to get a whole bunch of different levels. You're going to get players that they're just dropped off because it's a summer thing for them to do, for kids not to stay at home, stuff like that. And then you're going to get the ones that are a little bit more serious and want to really pursue it. So on their aspect, for them as coaches, it was it was it's frustrating for them because you can see their tones coming up and down. And I remember because I work full time, I do construction as well, right? So I remember one of the days I took a day off and I said, okay, I'm going to come in and help out if you need any help anywhere. And I know that he had smaller kids, and he was explaining certain exercises to do, but the development of these kids are definitely not close to what he was wanting them to perform. And I was just like, it's okay. No, I'll take these 8 kids here, and no worries. You focus on the older kids there, and I'll take them on this half of the pitch, and we'll get it going. You know what I mean? And it was like a sigh of relief, because he was trying to be positive, but you could tell he was he was running out of ideas. So yeah, some camps are hard, man. You in Richmond Hill, you guys have had a couple of camps there too. No, you guys have done that too last summer as well. Not this summer, of course, but
Yeah, the typical camps in Richmond Hill are run by the city, with our staff kind of facilitating and looking after them.
okay.
2 years ago, 2 years ago, or last year, sorry, for the last 2 years, before I joined the club, we had West Bromwich Albion come
Oh, cool.
over. So Dave
Isn't
Lawrence.
that your favorite team?
Unfortunately, not. No.
I know. I'm just kidding, man. I'm just kidding.
No. They're at the top of the championship, battling with my favorite team, Leeds United.
Leeds,
So,
I know you're a Leeds. That's why I just wanted to say, isn't that your favorite team?
Yeah. So hopefully, I'm hoping Leeds get promoted. For Mark Marshall's sake, I hope West Bromwich Albion get promoted as well. So it'll be good to see them both back in the Premiership. But yeah, we've held camps with West Bromwich Albion, and Dave Lawrence and his staff came over and worked with the children. And again, it was different kind of camps. It wasn't full day camps for the full week. It was day or single day camps where the players were coming in and focusing specifically on certain topics, and just so that they're not getting burnt out, because I think it's vital in the summer as well to recognize that the kids, they go to summer camp, but they've then got training every night, most nights of the week, with their competitive or OPDL teams.
Yep.
And then they've got their competition. So I'm not always a huge fan of camps, because I think unless
there's no rest.
Yeah, there's no rest unless they're structured where there's rest, there's time out of the sun and the heat, and maybe it's a thing of looking at multi-sport camps, so it's not just soccer,
Of course,
but it's giving them that opportunity, because you don't want it to become a babysitting service.
That's it, right? That's what I find. Some majority of camps that I've seen across, they've become that, right? They become a babysitting service, right? So you definitely want to have different multi-sport, do a multi-sport, different. Go and play basketball. You know what I mean? Work on different muscles. Play baseball. Go do something else, right? I totally agree with that, because I think that players forget, because you hear this. You hear, okay, so ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be having our camps coming up this July. You all have to just basically register. Don't worry, it's half the fee for you guys because you're in-house, and so people are signing up, and then, like you said, Carl, when you're running your session, they're completely exhausted. You know what I mean? They're dead, and then parents are always wondering, oh, how come my daughter's tired? Well, she has to stop playing soccer, man. Like she's gone from Monday to Sunday, continues playing. You always expect 100% and quick, like high intensity. Well, the kid's gonna burn out eventually. There's no rest period for muscles to develop and stuff like that, and take a rest from all the beating that's taken, right? So
I think as soon as you hit that third hour, they're burnt out.
yeah, 100%. That's crazy. Excited finally that the Premiership is back on. It's coming back on next week, right? 17 Wednesday.
Yeah, Wednesday.
Yes,
Wednesday.
Arsenal versus Man City. My team, not Man City, unfortunately, Arsenal. So Arsenal. We'll
Easy
see,
game for Man City to start off with.
Oh, here we go. We'll have to see. We'll have to see.
Get Arsenal doing us a favour, I think.
So,
Oh,
so if Arsenal win that game against Man City, does that mean that Liverpool can then pick up the championship at Anfield, Goodison Park?
Goodison, yeah.
Wow.
so if Arsenal wins, Liverpool win. Liverpool's champion. They're the champions.
Yeah.
But if Man City,
Liverpool are basically they need 6 points from the remaining 9. So they'll do it at some stage. It's how quickly we can do it. That's the thing. But
Are you a Liverpool fan, Neil?
I am, yes.
So would you want to win the championship at Goodison Park?
As far as I'm concerned, it doesn't really make much of a difference now. There's no fans there, so
Yeah, you're right.
I actually wouldn't mind it going an extra few games just to make it a little bit more exciting. To be fair, but but yeah, no, it's I grew up watching Liverpool win title after title after title, and then all of a sudden, 30 years and we haven't won a Premier League. So it's not before time, so we can't wait for it, to be honest. But no, it's just good to get it back, isn't it? And to get it back on track. I mean, even the way we watch soccer is interesting now, isn't it? Because I think the first few weeks of the Bundesliga was the games I watched. It was a bit strange because there was no fans. Then they started using Fox Sports, started using the EA Sports crowd noise. Which was loads better. I watched Bayern against Borussia Dortmund, and the crowd noise was a lot better. Which apparently
the interactions.
Yeah,
I don't think they've brought that over here. I've watched a Bundesliga game this morning, and there was no crowd noise or anything like that. So
I watched Milan and Juve, right? So Milan Juve played, and it looked like a training session, right? So.
Yeah, I think what they did, I watched. Yeah, it was the Dortmund Bayern game, and the footage I watched was Fox Sports, and they used the crowd noise, and it was just like a normal game. It was loads better. They've confirmed over here that La Liga is going to have that in partnership with EA Sports. So I'm hoping the Premier League does the same, because it'd be so much better to watch from your front room than just like I say. It's almost like watching it in a sports centre, an indoor sports centre, isn't it? Because you just hear the echoes, hear everyone. It's really bizarre, yeah.
mind you, that would probably help Manchester United having that noise pumped into the ground, because there's not that much noise coming out of Old Trafford anyway.
Same with City. City are used to playing in empty ground, so they'll be all right.
Oh man, yeah, that's gonna be good. I can't wait to see that. And then all the sports are starting to come back, right? What was that? Hockey, basketball, they're looking to return to play. So can't wait to have that going on. And soccer is a big thing, you know. And I've gone through DAZN because I'm subscribed to DAZN, and I think I've gone through so many epic matches back in 98, 99, 2008, 2007. So I just can't wait to start seeing some matches here. So that's going to be exciting.
Need sport in their lives, don't they? Just to, it's what focuses a lot of communities and that sort of competitive side to people. And without it, it is kind of strange, isn't it? Certainly over here, as you know, it's like over in England. Very much football-based country. Without it, it's bizarre, really.
It's like you've lost your left leg.
Very much so. Very much so. Yeah. Certainly for me and you guys as well, for not being able to get on the training pitch, it's incredibly difficult, isn't it?
I'd love to. I definitely have on my bucket list to go to England and Spain because I've seen a match in Italy and in Greece. Greek being my background, but I'd love to go in England and Spain and watch some soccer games there because wow, that would be fantastic. I've seen pictures, many pictures through other coaches that have had the experience to go to Chelsea and watch games and stuff like that, and I've gotten their feedback when they've come back in terms of what the experience was. So I think it's just something that I've told my wife. I'm like, that we definitely got to go. Like, I got to catch a couple games because I remember when they had here. They always have it here in Toronto. They have at BMO Field. They'll have the legends, Italy legends versus Portugal legends, and we went to go watch it. And it was like I was watching golf. You know what I mean? Like, because people were just clapping on the side. There's no fanatic. The one game I went to go watch was Roma played Celtic. Okay, so Roma played Celtic. Went to go watch that. Celtic fans were awesome, man. They were going crazy. They had the banners, the horns. The whole area was fantastic. Roma, on the other hand, I think they were too worried that they were going to get dirty or something. You know what I mean? It was just clapping. It was like little golf claps when they shot or they did. It was just like, where's the passion, man? Come on. TFC games, though, on the other hand, I have to admit that they're pretty exciting to watch. I've been to many of them, so they're pretty good to watch as well. So MLS on that. Carl, what do you think of the women's league in terms of? I know Carmelina Moscato, she's running the League One, and there was mention to the technical director course that they were going to have a League One, apparently not League One, sorry, a CWPL, a Canadian Women's Professional League. That's what they're working towards. Have you heard any buzz about that or anything like that going forward? Or
I haven't, to be honest, heard too much about it, but I think it would be a great next step. I think Carmelina had the head of League One Women's at the present time is a great person to be taking female soccer forward, and I think that would be the next step for Canadian soccer, especially on the female side. We've obviously got the CPL now for the men's side, and I think that first year last year was
awesome,
fantastic year.
Yeah.
And it's such a shame that with this pandemic that the CPL we're not going to be able to see much of it this season.
Yeah, I know.
But I definitely think for the female game, there's so many female players here that have great ability and really need that opportunity to showcase that. I've been to some League One women's games, and they're great games.
Yeah.
There's some talent on the field. There's some great players. And I think if we can have a CPL for the women's side, it's only going to be good for the game.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. I think that would be a great way, a good pathway for ladies. Because right now, like I said, we have you have your OPDL, then you have your League One, and then hopefully from when you get into League One, prior to that, they can get into Division One schools or universities and colleges here in Canada, which would be fantastic for them as well. That's Neil. That's our pathway here, right? Carl, I was going to ask you, what do you think, your personal opinion between, because I've seen so much social media on Instagram and stuff like that regarding Division One and the promotion between Division One schools and promoting players, because we have, like, you'll see players that I think personally, in my opinion, it'd be great to play for Canada, like university here, York University, Toronto, Queens. You know what I mean? They have a great football program there. Why go all the way to the States? Why promote States? I have nothing wrong with the States, but I'm just saying, why don't we just keep our players here local? You know what I mean? Because now that from my understanding, Division One has opened up the parameters big time in terms of where they're going to be getting players from. There's not just it's not just from Canada and South America and stuff like that. Now they've gone Europe now, right? So they've gone all over the place. What's your take on that? What do you like for Richmond Hill when your players from OPDL and girls that want to pursue that? Where do you guys usually direct players in that manner?
I mean, first of all, we have a conversation with them individually and find out what they want and why they want what they want. Basically, they need to be able to have a good understanding of where they want to go and why they want to go there. For me, I personally like to see all our Canadian kids staying within Canada. I look at our Canadian schools now, and I look at the Canadian programs, and in the last, I would say, even in the last 5 years, our Canadian school programs have really, really developed. You've got some programs within Canada now that are they're running as if they're professional organizations. Players training, getting the correct physiotherapy after training, getting the correct information. So I think the Canadian game, and from watching the Canadian university and college game over the last 15 years, I've seen a great improvement in it. And I think if we can keep kids local, it would be fantastic. I think when we look at scholarships to the States, there's not too many full rides that are given now. And when people say that they've got a scholarship to the States, I think we need to really dig deep to find out, well, what does that mean? Is everything paid for? Their accommodation, their books, and most times now it's not. So I think if we can, again, our Canadian system's got a great education system. So keeping the kids here in Canada, I think, is priority. But again, that goes down to what does the individual child want.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, and that's what I've talked to other coaches as well, and my views as well. And that's what I believe in too. I believe keep them here. You know what I mean? Because look at what program you want to do. First thing, exactly like you said, was identify what they want to go, why they want to do it, 100%. Like, is it just because my friend Maria is doing it or my friend Dave is doing it? Why do you want to do that, right? And then second, what do you want to take, right? Like, for instance, I talk to my daughter all the time because my daughter will be like, I have these dreams and goals, and I'm like, that's fantastic. It's good. You got to have goals. Otherwise, if you don't have goals, you're not going to move forward, right? So, but I tell her all the time, but you have to also have realistic views and vision, right? So it's not that I want to go play for the national team and I'm not working out hard enough. You know what I mean? Or I'm not putting in the time. Or I want to go play Division 1 because I'm going to be the best striker and stuff like that. Okay, so what are you doing for that, and why do you want to go there? You know what I mean? And half the time when you ask that question to these athletes, they don't know. They just sometimes they're pushed by their parents, right? They're just, you got to go to Florida State. You got to go there. You got to go to Michigan. You got to.
I think it's important, Christos, as well, that the kids start to prepare early. By the time they're 15, 16, they need to start looking into these options. They need to start gathering as much information as possible, finding out what schools can offer, what their credits are that they need to have to get into specific programs. If they leave it till their U17 season, the U18 season, and they're just about to go to college, they're really going to miss out. So if there's any advice I can give our players, it's start early. Start planning early. Really do your research and get to know exactly what is needed to get into those specific courses.
Also, I find too. Sorry, go ahead.
And education has to be priority. Education, and then soccer is the bonus.
Yes, I agree 100% on that. I was saying to some coaches, and you'll see, message me, and I have the contact for Division 1, Division this, Division that, right? And it's just sometimes I find it misleading because players will tend to follow that pathway, and then they go on for this ride that's not real, and then what happens is you hear horror stories, right? You hear, oh, I went with this guy or I went with this lady and I did this. I did everything that they asked, and I'm 17 now and I'm nowhere. I have no options, right? And then I've said to parents time and time again, just even for my own personal self, like for work, right? Know what you got to do, have contingencies, a contingency plan, and understand what your outlook is. Have an action plan, right? Have everything in plan. Have everything in place, because what happens is, for me personally, speaking out of my own experiences, just through my coach education, like construction, I do full time, soccer, I do part time, right? But my transitioning is what I'd like to do eventually is go full time soccer, and then part time, whatever, contracting and stuff like that. But that'll be on the side. But I've taken the steps in time allotment in terms of where I'd like to be in certain areas. A lot of parents are just put all their eggs in one basket. And that's one thing I've been telling our U16 girls, right? Because I've had some of them, oh, I just want to go to, oh, what's your, where do you want to go? They're like, I want to go to the States. I'm like, okay. So what schools have you looked at? And they're like, oh, I've looked this and this and that. I go, okay. Have you considered any Canadian schools? Oh, no. I go, all I'm just telling you is just out of my opinion, I said, is consider Canadian schools as well, just because you may not have the equivalency when you get to the States. Say the first year you go there and you're homesick, you don't have your friends, things are not going your way. You're like, call up mommy and daddy and say, listen, I want to come back. So you come back, you've done a year of whatever course you've done or education you've done there. You come back to the school here and they look at it and they go, well, unfortunately, there's no equivalency to that. So you got to start fresh.
Yep.
So
I think kids need to also have selection and not put their hat on one school. I think if they can go into that process and have 5 or 6 top schools that they've selected, and then when they do get their offers, now they've got selection rather than just trying to put everything into one school and hope that they get in there and then end up without anything.
no, exactly. Neil, out in England, there, do you guys do the same thing in terms of is it like see here we do Division 1 and universities and stuff like that. Now the gameplay for out there, is it the same idea? Like I'm not sure. I don't know anything about what happens over there.
Yeah, again, I don't know sort of the equivalent over with you guys, but yeah, the sort of college standard is it can be very much up and down. I mean, our local college, we used to feed into our local college, so it was almost like a B team for us as a professional academy. So any players we looked at who we thought weren't quite up to the standard, they went into our associated college scheme. So they played alongside that. They play in the national league, they play in the local league. Now the standard of that used to be really, really good. So we've seen a drop off that standard, say, the last 3 or 4 years, to the fact that at the minute, nowhere near the standard of our scholars at the club. So whether that's a local thing, whether that's a national thing, whether that's the standard of college football over here that's changed, I don't know. But yeah, there is different tiers, and there is better schools as well. So the better schools will always be the better ones in the sports areas. But without delving too deep into it, compare it to you guys over there, I would say it's completely different in terms of what they are. Your sort of college education and soccer scholarship courses, I would say, for your best players, whereas ours aren't. The best players go into our professional academy.
Oh, I get it. And we have, see, the good thing here in Ontario as well, in Canada, sorry, not just Ontario, is the CPL, right? So having that's something, talking with my friends and buddies over here, we've said that so many times. You need that. You need that one underneath MLS. You know what I mean? Otherwise, how are you going to develop a professional mainstream, right? You can't just be like right out of club teams and stuff like that, and then you go to MLS, right? You got to have that transition, that pathway for them. So I think CPL is awesome. I was so excited to see that. I've seen a couple of games actually, and it's amazing. For me, put me on a soccer pitch, watching 2 teams, I could sit there for hours. I would have to just basically tell my wife I'll be back in 3 hours in order to give her that time window. So, but soccer, I love it. You know, I mean, I can everything about it. So having CPL here in our back door now, like right behind us in Canada, is awesome. It's good for morale. It's good for fan base. It's good for rivalry. Tons of things for that. So I believe
well over here, Christos, because you've got obviously throughout over 100 years we've built our football pyramid. So it's not a case of you're either in the top division or you're not making it. There's Premier League, there's Championship, there's League One, there's League Two. Even the National League and the National League North now are really, really good standards. The standard of players down at the lower levels now is unbelievable compared to what it was even 5-10 years ago. So we're blessed in that we've got that established pyramid, whereas you say you guys are kind of just at the bottom rung of that pyramid, starting to build it up. And as you say, even in the MLS, if there's another division, again, it gets more popular. You get your more local rivalries and that over there, which again, hopefully it will happen within the next sort of 5 to 10 years. But who knows? That pyramid's got to start, I think, to make it like that.
Yeah, definitely. It's got to start because it breeds players, right? You breed quality, man. It's a no-brainer. The system has been around forever. It's not something that you have to reinvent. It's not something we're like, okay, guys, let's look at soccer. How are we going to breed these quality professional players? The system's been around. You just have to basically put it in play. Start off, get the players from a younger age, development, grassroots, get into your club system, rep, OPDL, get into bigger leagues and go from there. Put the right coaches in place, the right methodology, right mentality, and you should be able to overall breed some success. You know what I mean? That's what I strongly believe in. So
yeah, it's more chance and opportunity, isn't it? So the more sort of high level clubs you've got, the more opportunity it is for the young players, and they see that opportunity, so they're more likely to then go and pursue that and be interested in that. Whereas obviously over there you've got different sports that they might be sidetracked to, your hockeys and your basketballs and so on. Whereas over here, any young lad is playing football and he's wanting to be a footballer, but he sees that chance, he sees that opportunity. Again, that's why we've talked about this again before, haven't we? Where the cultures are slightly different, and
Yeah, of course.
and that's how it kind of worked. But it's good to see a building, man, over there. It's great. It's the more quality young football players we can produce throughout the world, the better the game's going to be. It's great to see.
Well, it's definitely changed. I remember back in MLS. I remember watching MLS as a young kid. Excuse me. And I think I mentioned this last week. Was I don't know if I mentioned on the podcast or through some other buddies we were just talking, but they used to do running penalty shots. You know what I mean? Back.
Yeah, you mentioned that.
I mentioned that last week, right? So running penalty shots, man. Like what is going on here? This is soccer/hockey mentality, right? So it's good to see the change. It's good to see the passion behind it. It's good to see the fan support. It's starting to feel, honestly, like a mini European, North American, South American culture. You know what I mean? It's starting to feel like that when you actually go to games. It's loud. It's what soccer is supposed to be. That's the way I've seen it.
So, one more topic I'd like to talk about is, Carl, from looking at my feed in terms of social media, there's been a lot of cancellations from yesterday was Huronia District. They're closing down, saying that they're closing down for House League, I guess it is. And now I just got Ontario Women's Soccer League is shutting down. I just got that. I just got a Instagram on that too. So I think, totally, in my opinion, I think everything's just going to shut down. I think training is going to happen individually with some people that are interested, but I don't see anything happening this summer. I think we're going to transition into the winter, maybe if second phase of this pandemic doesn't hit, right?
Yeah, I think at the present time, I think my main focus at the club and our club's main focus is phase one. Let's just get the kids back on the field training. I think there's a lot of things that are out of our control. The government are controlling when phase two will reopen for regions, when we'll be able to start into those initial steps. So for me, I'm not looking at phase three at the present time because I think that's too far off. I think we've got to look at phase one and take phase one as the first stepping stone, because you got to get it right. If we don't get it right, then we're not going to get to phase two, and phase three's a lot further away. So let's get phase one right first. Let's put the players first and make sure that the safety's our priority. And then if things happen and the government release more restrictions, then we can build gradually. I think it's my big concern is always, if we shut down again, what's the trouble that's going to cause, and what fallout would be from that. So let's remember, no one's gone through this before, so we're all learning. I think we're learning daily. I think within my role at the club, things change daily. or things can change hourly. At the beginning of this process, we were having technical director meetings and discussing things and getting off the calls, and then 2 hours later we're receiving an email saying this has now changed, or we're listening to the premiere and saying this has changed. So again, I'm not too concerned about phase 3 at the moment. I'm looking at phase 1. Let's make sure we get it right to give our kids the best opportunity of even reaching phase 3. And when we look at phase 3, it's talking about physical distancing all totally removed. Again, that's out of our hands. The medical people, the health officers, and the premier, that's what they're responsible for. So once we get that green light, then we'll look at that. But until then, let's just focus on phase 1. Let's get it right, and let's make sure everyone's in a safe situation.
Yeah, 100%. Also, good thing that you said was we can't have this happen again. Hey guys, like honestly, I don't think if we have another shutdown. Speaking out of some personal experiences, not of my own, but from other people that I know close to me, business is shutting down. You know what I mean? And been in business for 25 years, and it's a family business, mama papa shop, and they've shut down. You know what I mean? And they're completely talking to them on a daily basis, completely devastated. They don't know what to do now. They've been doing this for 25 years. This is the reality to them, and now it's done. It's shut down. They got to go work with someone else. They don't know what that looks like. They don't know how to do that. So imagine how many here in Canada, how many companies, small businesses have completely just been annihilated on that. Number two, having another shutdown, that is completely going to rock the boat on our economy, right? So we can't have that, man. We can't do that. So yeah, that's a big thing you said. Just get it right, guys. Get it right 100%. Get on the same page. Stay patient, detailed, diligent, and don't cut corners, man. Because when you cut corners and people start figuring it out and stuff like that, we're just gonna get back to the same mess we're in.
Yeah, I think
I'm a big believer on prioritizing what you can and can't control anyway. So I think, Carl, you're absolutely spot on with that. All you can do is say, listen, this is phase 1. We'll get phase 1 prepared, ready, done as much as we can. Have a little eye on the transition to phase 2, but don't even think about phase 3. It's not worth bothering about. Let's get this right first. Let's focus on this, and if we're successful with this, then we can start making steps potentially. Then at looking at what we can do next. But yeah, it's, as you say, it's changing all the time. So it's a stage process. It's just working within the guidelines, doing what best you can. And again, just remembering, as you said at the very start, is the priorities, the safety of the players who you're coaching and the staff and everyone around you. So everyone's safe, everyone's doing it correctly. And again, as you say, Christos, once that's all done, then we have no relapse. We have no second wave that we end up going to lockdown if everyone's doing things correctly. And again, it's as Carl says, it's doing it in stages. And if you do it properly, get everything set in stone, then you should be successful in what you're doing in bringing people back.
We can only control what we can control.
Absolutely.
Exactly. Well, guys, you know what? Carl, thank you again for coming today. It was a problem. It was a pleasure having you, man. And Neil, always.
Nice to meet you too, Neil. Great speaking with you both.
Yeah, it was great. Some good topics. Neil, again, thanks for coming out, man. And we do this every week. We do it at 11 o'clock every Saturday until otherwise, right? So right now, thanks again. And
you're gonna have to make You're gonna have to make a decision next week, then, Christos, because at 11 o'clock the Premier League's gonna be going on.
then this will be at 10 o'clock, and I'll have a TV in the back. So
Premier League starts at 10 o'clock.
Okay, then then I'm gonna have to. So then this will be running every Fridays, and then we're gonna have to have time for the Premiership for sure. So
brilliant.
Anyways, guys, thank you very much. Again, thank you, Carl, and I'd love to have you on again. And we'll best of luck for everyone. Stay safe, and
same to you guys. Take care, guys. Thank you.
See you later.
See you later. Bye.